Hello and welcome to your programme Q&A session, which will cover the MSc in Bioinformatics. We've got our panel here today, which is a lovely mix of academic and student panel members. So we should hopefully get some nice little stories about the programme. We are recording this session, so please don't worry if you miss anything or if you have to leave early. We will be sharing it shortly after. Um, and yeah, please do use the chat box to answer any questions as we go throughout, and we'll do our best to cover off all of those. Catherine, would you like to kick off and introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Catherine Crouch, and I am a lecturer in bioinformatics, and I am the program lead for MSc Bioinformatics. So if you come and do this program, I coordinate it. I run about half of the content in semester one, but I'm also overall in control of the program, so I'll also be in contact with you throughout the year.
And hi, everyone. My name is Muskan. I'm one of the alumni from this program. I was in this program in the 2023 to 24 session. And feel free to reach out to me if you wish.
Great. And Catherine, it might be nice to just start with a bit of an overview of the MSc, if that's all right.
Yes, of course. So the majority of the students who join the program are life sciences students. So most people have an undergraduate degree in something related to biology. There's quite a wide diversity there. So we have people who've done, molecular biology. We've got people who've done botany or zoology. We've got people who've done sort of ecology stuff or biotechnology. There's basically a massive range of life sciences backgrounds. Um, and we also accept one or two students a year who have a computer science or a maths background as well, but it's the majority of our intake are biology students. So we start the year assuming that you don't really know much about computers. Um, and so the first semester is really about giving you a toolkit of computational skills that you can use. And they're taught in a way that's kind of not specific to any particular area of biology. So you'll get a background in statistics, you'll learn some programming in Python and in R. And there's also a course called Foundations of Bioinformatics where you learn about all the different technologies that we can use in biology to generate high throughput data. So the sorts of data that you use bioinformatics to analyze. Those courses are all compulsory, and the purpose of them is really to give you some skills. The second semester is more about trying to help you start applying those skills to biological questions. So most of the courses in semester two are more project based. They normally have some kind of biological scenario. So it might be investigating variants in a complex disease situation, or it might be looking at drug resistance, or, there's various different things. And you use the skills that you've acquired in semester one in a controlled way in the classroom to address those questions. So that's that second part. There are more options, and it's more about getting you to start applying the things that you've learned at the beginning. And then the last third of the course is an independent project. So for that, you go to a lab for around about 3 months, and you engage with a research project with that lab. And because this is a bioinformatics course, the projects are obviously all going to be bioinformatics. So we don't offer any lab work as part of those projects, but they are research. They're not just writing a dissertation. So you will be given some data to analyze, and then you'll be expected to write it up as a sort of research project. Do you have anything to add to that, Ms. Gann?
No, I think that pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Can I ask, Muskan, what was your background before you joined the MSc?
That's a good question. So my background was zoology. And I had never done any math in my life before, but not at a university level. Neither had I done any comp sci. So I think personally, from my standpoint, this was a very useful program for me because it is tailored to people who are from a heavily life science background. And so I was able to catch up and become a proper bioinformatician, I hope to say now.
That's really good. And can I ask, did you have a sort of favourite part of the programme? So Catherine mentioned there's three sort of different semesters. Was there a favourite element for you?
I would say that the first semester was my favorite. And funnily enough, I actually, this is contrary to popular opinion because most people like the second semester because that's when they have more choices on what they can do. But personally, first semester was the great for me because I think the learning curve was the steepest. So the first semester is the most programming heavy, and you learn a lot of new things. And it's quite fast paced and it's high standards, which all the teachers are very aware of and they're very conscious about as well. But even if you fall back, there's a lot of support that's available. In fact, my best friend, who was also on this course, he was my classmate. He had a ton of personal issues going on, which is why he was lacking on assignments a little bit. But there was a lot of support available for him as well. And in the end, he got a distinction in his degree, which was amazing. Um, so yeah, my favorite part, I digressed a little bit. My favorite part was the semester one, but also dissertations were amazing. Doing the summer project was a really good time because you get complete autonomy and control over the work that you do and you drive your own project forward.
Yeah, great. And Catherine, you mentioned there about the optional courses. When do
Yeah.
students choose them? Do they need to know straight from the get-go, or do they get a bit of time to decide?
So we select those in November. And what we will do is we will publish information about them sort of in late October or early November. And then we offer every student a chance to have a one-to-one discussion with one of the course staff. So that might be me, or it might be our deputy program lead, um, to just go over what the courses are and what the appropriate selections might be. And that discussion will talk about what your background is and what you might want to do in the future. And we'll try and help you tailor your choices to those things. And then once you've had that discussion, you've got a week or two after that to fill in a form. And yeah, that normally happens in November. So yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
you've got a
good.
little bit of time. It's not an immediate thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is good. And I know this is a really difficult question to answer, and I know it will vary depending on the optional courses you choose and from semester to semester. But how many hours a day and how many days a week should students expect to be in class? And I know that will all become clearer once they
Yeah.
register, but just to give them an idea.
So it's a kind of intense course. I think Muskan's gonna. Yeah, I can see her nodding. um, I think students coming in should be aware that it is a 1 year course, but we're trying to start you basically from scratch with new skills, and in order to and then get you to the point where you can use them independently. And in order to accommodate that, we do have to pack the timetable pretty full. Um, so you will be in most days, and you will be in for multiple hours most days. So yeah, it yeah that it's not like 1 day here and 1 day there. Do you want to comment on that further, Muskan? You might be able to comment better on what the workload outside of the class is as well.
Yeah, I think it varies a little depending as well on what your background is first and how fast you can learn new things as well, because there's definitely differences in how fast you can pick up new skills. Some people take slower, and some people take faster, and there's no inherently right or wrong. But if you are a relatively slow learner, you might have to put in a few more hours. And I would also say, because I was in postgraduate accommodation throughout the majority of this degree, and so I had friends from a lot of different courses, I could also say comparatively, this is an intense course. But then again, it falls back to high standards. Bioinformatics is a difficult field. It's not easy. It's three disciplines at once. We've got biology, comp sci, and stats. And you need to be competent enough in all three in order to be able to work independently or relatively independently with minimal supervision. And that is something, again, that your teachers are very aware of and that they're working day and night to inculcate in you. But it is expected, of course, that the student put in their own hours, their own time as well.
Yeah, and how did you find that transition into postgraduate study? Because I think a lot of students are quite surprised at how intense an MSc can be, and it's a bit of a shock to the system sometimes. So how did you find it?
I think I was lucky in that I had a lot of social support. I had a really good friend group. I my flatmates were good, my accommodation and my neighbors were good, and I loved my teachers as well. So generally, I think the social support really helped me get through it. I'd say Catherine is my personal mentor as well right now, and it's been a really great experience with that as well. And often, if you study in groups, if you study socially as well, it helps a lot, I would say. It was a little bit of a shock, but not too much because I didn't know what to expect. I knew, of course, that a master's degree is no joke and getting one is no joke as well. And that is something that you need to, of course, prepare yourself for emotionally as well. But academically speaking, I think it is perfectly suited if you're trying to make a transition.
Sorry, Catherine, were you going to say something? I think I interrupted when you were going to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we'd kind of passed the point. I've just seen that Olympia's joined, but she seems to be an attendee and not a panelist, so I'm not sure she can actually speak. I can't hear you, Naomi. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm saying I can promote, so let me get
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Olympia on the panel.
Yeah,
And Olympia should join us in a little
yeah.
second, hopefully.
Okay. What I was just about to add to the question about how much time time we spend. The first semester is more intense than the second, I think. I mean, they're both equal in terms of amount of work, but in the first semester, you're actually doing 3 courses simultaneously through the semester. And so you've got to balance the workloads from all 3 of them. And then in the second semester, you're doing courses one at a time. So I think the workload is the same, but a lot of people find the second semester easier because they're not trying to juggle multiple things.
Perfect. Hi, Olympia. Thanks very much for joining us. And we found you in the end.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I had an overrunning meeting.
No,
But
you're okay.
No problem.
Could we just circle back to you? Could you introduce yourself? So tell us sort of who you are.
okay, so my name's Olympia, and I am currently a last year PhD student doing bioinformatics, looking at single cell and looking particularly at how cells interact with each other in different inflammatory diseases. I'm part of the Thomas Otto Lab Group here in the School of Infection and Immunity, and I did the Masters of Bioinformatics a long time ago. Was it?
It must have been 2019, 2020 because you were the COVID year, right?
Yeah, it was. We got half of the pandemic, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. It'll be really nice then to get your take on some of these questions as we go through. The research project, so we're always asked about the research project. It's such a large part of an MSc. So, Catherine, could you tell us more about the process for that? So, how do students decide on a topic? When does all that kind of happen?
So for this year's students, it's actually happening right now. So I guess early March. So we give students the opportunity to organise their own projects, and there's a couple of different routes into that. So one thing we do is I will go round to people who I think might be appropriate to offer projects, and I'll put a list together. And that list will have supervisors' names and potential project titles and descriptions. And students can go through that list and contact the supervisors. You know, if you think one looks interesting, you can contact that supervisor. We also do have students sometimes who decide they have a very clear idea about what they want to do. Yes, I should say most students find something off the list. So that's the normal route. Most years we do have 1 or 2 students have a very clear idea what they want to do, and they have sort of 2 other options. One is to self-organize a project within the university. So that might involve going through the lists of staff and finding someone who works in a relevant area and just sort of cold calling them almost. And we've got maybe 2 or 3 students who've done that this year. So that's not uncommon. And we have a very small number of students, maybe 1 every 2 or 3 years, who self-organize a project outside of the university. That's more difficult. There's more paperwork and stuff associated with it, but that does happen as well. So for the majority of students, it's a very guided process where you have a list of options and you pick the option that you think suits you best. But there are options to do it yourself if you have, very specific ideas.
That's great. It would be nice to hear from our other panelists, if you remember, about your research project. How was it, and did you enjoy it? Yeah, just your takeaways from that.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed mine. I would say I went in knowing what I wanted to achieve. So, for context, Catherine was my supervisor, who is on your screen right now. Um, and the project itself was a tool development, software development sort of a project, which again, if I can flag that I came from a pure biology background, so that already was a huge deal for me. And I knew that I wanted to become really competent in programming and in research software engineering work, which is a goal that I took into the project that I believe that I did well with. Again, there's a lot of support available if you fall behind, which I did near the beginning of my project because I had housing related issues. But then again, Catherine was very empathetic, and teachers and researchers here in general are very understanding, and they don't really hammer you or anything with it. They consistently check in, they see what's going on, they come up with a plan, and everything is it's very teamwork based and it's quite open. I believe I did well with my project. The project choosing couple of weeks can be a little stressful because a lot of people would want a smaller subset of projects. So it's selective in a two-way street kind of a way. So you should like your supervisor, but they should like you as well. And that is something that you do need to put in a lot of your time and effort into. But again, given that it is a third of the component of your master's degree, it's a pretty heavy component. So it also makes sense that you're expected to put in that kind of time into it.
For me, so the independent project was my favorite part of the masters because you go through and you have all of these modules, and some of them are parallel, some of them are chunked in your second semester, and at times it can feel a bit much. But then once you get to your end project, everything comes together, and you're like, okay, all right, I got this. And it's really nice to have more of an independent question that you're now applying everything you've learned in the degree to this. And you get given this massive list, and there are just so many projects. And it's really nice because where the course is quite intimate, you do know your lecturers along the way. So when it comes to approaching and having to deal with whatever project and crafting, whatever you want to do, it's really nice because you already have this working relationship with a lot of the people if you choose to do the set projects that's there. And I think for those, I know you're thinking about doing a master's, but if you start thinking about, oh, I want to do a PhD after this, I think that independent project is an amazing taster for what PhD life is actually like, in terms of you're not sat in taught lectures so much. It's more you're formulating your own idea, and you get enough time to really dig deep into one aspect of bioinformatics that you've learned in the course. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, oh, that's great. And it's good. Catherine's doing something right then. It all came together in the end.
That's my goal, yes.
And I
I
always
should
think,
clarify here that I wasn't the course director when Olympia did the course, although I was teaching on it. So.
and I do always really like hearing from MSc students because it's really nice because it sounds like the relationship with sort of staff so much different from when you're an undergrad. It's almost like these are colleagues rather than like teacher and student, which is always just it's really nice. There's different assessment methods that are used across the university. Could you tell us a wee bit more about how students should expect to be assessed throughout the various courses?
So the vast majority of our assessments are coursework. We only have 2 exams in the entire program, and I'm actually going to try and drop one of those. So I'm hoping we'll go down to just 1 exam in the entire course. The coursework is often a mixture of data analysis and a report. So you'll normally be asked to conduct an analysis of some data using the skills you've learnt, and then write up a report describing what you did and what you learnt from the data and some interpretation. So I think I'm pretty fair in saying the vast majority of our assessments are like that. There's a few other things. We do have some assessed presentations and things along the way as well. I think the real difference from undergraduate is we really want you to be critical about what you're doing. So we don't necessarily just want you to write up and say, oh yeah, I did this because it's what I taught in class. what I was taught in class. We want you to be able to say, I chose this method and I think it's the best method because blah, blah, and blah. And then I looked at my data and I could see this pattern, but this bit didn't quite make sense. And here's some theories about why it might not make sense. You know, we want you to be incorporating that sort of element of independent and critical thinking into your reports and what you're writing up.
And Muskan and Olympia, how did you find the various assessments? Did you enjoy the variety?
I absolutely did. Yes, I very much enjoyed the variety. If I can also bring a new perspective to the table, my undergraduate degree was in India. I went to Delhi University, and there is a stark difference in how assessments are done, not just between undergraduate and postgraduate level, but also between countries as well. And I actually think the way it's done in the UK makes a lot more sense in my head, because there's little to basically no importance to rote learning, which is something I believe a lot of people internationally would have experienced. There's no importance given whatsoever to rote learning. It's entirely based on your understanding, your skills, and what you took away from the lectures, what you took away from the material, which I believe is quite good, because then you are assessing actual learning as well. And there's, again, a lot of support related to deadlines if you can't make it. And there's policies in place at the university as well, where you can approach the university in order to ask for help if you don't want to talk directly to your teachers as well. There's a lot of avenues to gain support. Again, I digress, but in terms of assessments, I believe it was really, really good. I've not done that sort of work before, and that was new to me. But it did assess my own understanding of the program, which I think was quite good.
For me, I know the course has changed a lot since I did it, but in terms of the more coursework-based assessments, I think it's amazing because you actually come out with something tangible from each module. So you will have scripts that you've done, you will have projects that you've worked on, and I still refer back to some scripts that we did during the masters, which is really nice because you have something tangible. It's not like you've just done an exam and then off you go, and then that never matters again. I really enjoyed all of the group work that we did. I think even though the pandemic was cut in half, cut my masters in half, we still did a lot of the group work, which I found really fun. So it's really collaborative within the assessments for some modules as well, which is nice. So there's a nice balance of independent assessment and also group work. Yeah, I like not sitting exams, so I'm glad that there's even less exams now and more coursework based.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with you. And in terms of preparing to start your MSc in September, is there anything that students can do to really set themselves up for a good start? We can maybe get Catherine's sort of taking advice on it, and then our panelists.
Yeah, I mean, the knowledge that we assume you have is mostly biology related. So if you are coming from a background that's not biology, then I would recommend that you maybe get hold of a molecular biology textbook and do a little bit of reading. And we particularly want you to be able to understand the relationship between DNA and RNA and protein, because most of the technologies that we're using measure one of those three things. So yeah, that if you're coming from a non-biology background, that would be my biggest piece of advice, I think. If you're coming from a biology background and you're probably already aware of that, you know, you've probably been taught that knowledge. It's we're not assuming that you know anything at the beginning of the course, but a lot of students like to maybe have a little dabble in Python or in R. There's lots and lots of sort of free online courses. You're not going to come out of those courses being amazing, but you'll maybe feel less overwhelmed at the beginning of the course if you've done that. And exactly what you want to dabble in, it really is guided by your own interests, I think. I wouldn't recommend you try and do a bit of everything, though, because you'll just confuse yourself. Anything to add from the other two there?
Yeah, Olympia, go ahead.
I will just really recapitulate, because one of my biggest fears so I did biomedical science as my undergrad. One of my biggest fears was going to be the steep learning curve of coding, which is going to be there. You're learning a new skill, so expect that. But to familiarize yourself with just basic R, just do some equations, maybe a bar plot, nothing massive. And Python as well, I think, is really good advice, just so it's not so much of a shock to the system when you first start getting into these environments. Because I still remember it was quite daunting at the beginning. So we do that.
I would say a couple of things. One, I would say knowing some basic Linux commands on the command line, I think makes it a lot easier for you. Because this program, as intense as it is, even compared to other master's programs, it starts a week before a lot of master's programs start. And that first week is going to be it's a computing boot camp that sort of gets you up to speed with all the technologies and all the resources you have available. And if you can do some reading up on terminology or basic Linux commands that you can just use on your own laptops or your own PC's command line, that I think makes the bootcamp itself a lot easier, because there's the specific bits in the program that are just spent trying to install stuff, trying to get stuff working. And if you're more familiar with these terminologies, it makes it easier. The second thing I would say, especially if you're coming off straight from an undergrad without a gap, so you just have an empty summer, is to take the time off and, spend time with your family, especially if you're moving abroad for this, spend time with your family, see your friends who you're not going to see again for a while, and just sort of rest. Because a big part of a steep learning curve is also the mental resilience of expecting to fail and try again, because you're not going to get everything working in the first go, which is quite normal, especially in a skill like both statistics and comp sci. It's not easy, of course, if you haven't done those things before. And just as swimming, you need to sort of acclimatize to the fear of possibly drowning, and then you don't. You do the same thing with coding. And part of that is being really well rested.
That's brilliant advice. You might feel like you're drowning, but someone will save you. Oh, goodness. I think the last question, if we could just squeeze it in just very quickly, careers afterwards. So maybe we start with Olympia yourself. You mentioned you're doing a PhD, so could you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, so actually what I did was I came out of the masters and I took some time off just to kind of breathe and think about, because I wasn't too sure about what I wanted to do. And I did my project with Pavel and got a researcher who was here called Pavel, and I got assessed by Thomas Otto, one of the lecturers on the course, who then offered me a job to be a bioinformatician for 9 months. So I got a short contract that was looking at single cell in COVID in Africa. So I did that for 9 months. And I really enjoyed the kind of research atmosphere and the dynamics of really having a research project and questions and then applying the bioinformatics to that. So then halfway through that, he had a PhD opening. And I just grabbed it with both hands. And so haven't looked back. I finish in September. I've really enjoyed the PhD. I think it really allowed me to develop my coding skills beyond the masters. I think because I came from zero programming whatsoever, the masters was a really nice opportunity for me to dabble in lots of different areas of bioinformatics. Then the final project allowed me to specialize, and then I really enjoyed it. So then I continued on with the PhD, where it's very different from the masters, but nice to be in this kind of research environment. And I am still a bit unsure about what to do afterwards. I'm entertaining the thought of some postdocs to do more kind of high dimensional single cell and image-based analysis and bringing in more machine learning, which was something that I think the PhD is leading me down that path. So I think that's where I'm headed in a nutshell. It
Great.
feels weird to summarize the last 5.5 years of your life in a few sentences. It's been a lot of bioinformatics, a lot of programming, lots of fun, lots of research, and it's been really exciting.
Oh, that's good. I don't have 5.5 years worth. I finished this program 6 months ago, in 2024, September of 2024. And since then, I have been on the job hunt. I would say looking for a job is tough because there's a supply-demand mismatch. There's far fewer jobs than there are people looking for a job. And it has been tough. I've been just going to sort of interviews. In the meanwhile, I have been hired by the university as a sort of teaching assistant. The official job title is demonstrator. And I'm also working on a small project on the side with one of the teachers on this course called John Cole. So that's what I'm on right now, what I'm hoping to do, which I think will happen for me because I'm still sort of looking at this positively, is that I should get a job before I go on to a PhD. So I've got another 6 months-ish before I start applying for PhDs. But yeah, Olympia.
Sorry, I just also wanted to add on to that there is a hell of a lot of support for the transition period. I felt really well supported in that window where I wasn't working and that I did fall into something. I will also just say there are people that I did the course with that didn't go down the academic research route, and there is a bioinformatics company in Edinburgh that one went to. One works for QIAGEN right now doing kind of RNA transcriptomic pipeline things. So there is I think someone went to work for the Health of Scotland doing population level data. So it's a wide variety of different career paths that you can go down. But I just thought I'd highlight the academic route is not the only route. And yeah.
Yeah, if I can talk about my classmates as well, a lot of people have academic jobs, but a few have gotten into industry as well. So I have one classmate called Yoshi Hosaka, who now has a job in Tokyo, working for a private company there as a bioinformatician, which is amazing. And there's a few people I know here who are working in various research labs, in the University of Glasgow itself or in other universities, in the UK. And that's the sort of career progression I suppose you would expect. But again, there's also people who have left bioinformatics entirely and worked in a bank or in consulting or something completely new, which is also something that you can do if you wish. But then again, you should be able to take your data analysis and your programming skills as well into whatever new role you do go on to.
Yeah, I was actually about to say that there's it's not a common career path because people who do bioinformatics generally have some interest in biology, but we have had a number of students over the years who have gone into sort of data analysis for finance, and the skills are very, very transferable. The programming is transferable, the statistics is transferable, the critical analysis of what you're looking at is transferable, and it is something that a small but distinct proportion of our students do go on to do, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, well, that went by so quickly. And thank you so much, because it sounds like you're all very, very busy. So thanks very much for taking some time out of your day to share your experience and share more about the programme. Hopefully, for everybody watching, and if really you're watching it live or back, hopefully you found it useful. If you do have any further questions, please do get in touch. The programme administration email address is on the programme webpage of our website. And the teams are brilliant at getting back to you and answering any questions you've got. So thanks again to our panel, and hopefully all of you watching, we see you come September time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.